And so now, something to also say, I think that we are able, the group of you that is on Zoom, I don't know, maybe some other people on Facebook, I cannot emphasize enough that there is a significant difference that we start this study first with a practice. In some ways, what the practice is doesn't matter. But the fact that, we all do a practice. The way these practices work, sometimes I think we misunderstand. We think, these practices are like, taking like when you have a pain, you take a painkiller, you pop 4 pills in, then an hour later it takes effect. Practice doesn't work like this. And sometimes people relate to practice like that, waiting for it to like show some results. It doesn't work like that. Most of the time, the practices that we do, what happens is that the practice is wearing down things, right? They are working. When they work, it's not that practice, you just blah, 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 that's practice. No, I mean, as you know, body, speech, mind, in alignment, when you do the practice. It's working in the background, it's changing things. These changes will not be obvious immediately. In fact, when sometimes it seems like it's obvious immediately, often those things can just become distractions. These special experiences, they often become distractions. If they don't become distractions immediately, a little bit further down the road, they become distractions. So in fact, we don't want to, look for those kinds of results. Instead, we want the kind that is like, in a way, happening quietly in the background, but then in a deep way, the change. So that, it's like one day you just kind of wake up and you go, oh, wait, things have changed, My attitude has changed. Like I can see, I can track, the way I relate to things have changed. The way I handle things, oh, that has changed. The way I treat myself, oh, that has changed. Oh, the way I responded to that situation, that has changed, So that's how, then particularly for like teachings like this, because you and I, in this group, we do the practice together. And I think, I know that also helps in how we will hear these teachings, as opposed to just jumping in. Of course, some of you, your circumstance, you cannot, maybe join the first part. You can only come to the second part. Then for that, I want to say, you want to do practice. Don't just listen. Do a formal session of practice, long or short. Sincerely do a formal session of practice. Even if the practice is quote unquote simple, like, do a 15 minutes of turning the Dharma wheel and chanting some mantras. Chanting some mantras with the right understanding, right motivation. Simply letting the mind rest. But rest in vastness and sharpness, brightness of mind, vastness of mind, understanding, your nature is idam. Then you just chant the mantra and let the mind settle, let the mind settle. Things like, mala beads, prayer wheels, sang offering, suru, all these. They are methods, and these methods were given by the Buddhas, the great Siddhas. And whereas in Asia, you can say, too much methods, but no understanding of what is going on, what is true Dharma practice. So then these methods become superstitions. In the West, and then people who suffer the Western disease, so even in Asia, in educated circles, in people who live in the city, suffer the same one, which is forgetting method, looking down on method. Oh, I don't need mala, I don't need prayer wheel, I don't need anything. All pretending like, I'm like Milarepa. Again, look around. Hello, you don't live like Milarepa, Then all just, up in the head. Then the Dharma, even when you think I'm meditating, I'm doing practice, it can become very harsh. It can become very harsh. It can become very, very cerebral, very much just up in the head, These things, soften our minds. You go to Tibet, you see old grandmothers more than anybody else. So sometimes even, you in fact, you don't see a lot of monks, using this. Because even there, there's a certain sense like, oh, well, we are monks, we are the real practitioners. We don't do these things, But, yes, of course, they are practitioners who absolutely don't need. But they are at such a level that I think most of us are not there, So I'm not saying you need a prayer wheel, you need, then suddenly you're like, oh, which kind are you using? Where can I get it? This, that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you have to find ways to soften your practice. Don't just think, meditate. It's very hard, because we are not yet ready for that. So we have to find ways to massage, It's like going for a run, If you don't warm up, you pull a muscle. Same. I've seen so many people suffering from that, and yet don't refuse to warm up. Refuse to warm up by filling water bowls carefully, cutting flowers to put on the shrine, lighting candles, wiping the shrine, singing songs to the Buddhas. Still refuse to do that, because so impressed by professional athletes. But the only time you see professional athletes is when they are performing, You don't see all the warm-up work and all the other things that they are doing behind closed doors, We get so impressed by professional athletes. And so we get so impressed by the stories of the Mahasiddhas, like they don't need this, they don't need that, they don't have anything, But then, where are we? In a way, if you don't need anything, already, then no need even all of this, Then why even take monks' vows or nuns' vows or lay vows or anything? Don't need anything. Oh, I just meditate. I just visualize. Then the visualization becomes very rigid, very hard, no softness. Then we become very harsh with ourselves. We become harsh with others. People don't like to come close because you're like sandpaper, So we got to be careful. Then also, then when we study Dharma, it cannot really sink in a natural way. It feels like we have to force it in. See all of it as, part and parcel, 84,000 methods that we should gather all together. Don't look down on any practice. Look down on having the wrong attitude. Look down on, having wrong attitude, wrong motivation, wrong understanding. Yes, look down on that. But don't look down on, the 84,000 methods. Without methods, without upaya, no wisdom. Seemingly there's wisdom, but actually no wisdom. And without wisdom, upaya, methods, they are not methods. Then they are superstitions. Then they are witchcraft. Then they are distractions. Then they are spiritual materialism. All of that. Together, always, hand in hand. So, whatever methods you have, please continue to value them, have the right relationship with the methods. So now in our context, our method, we get together every morning, a couple of you, it's evening, we apply one method. Don't have all kinds of, graspings and expectations, unrealistic expectations about the method, but trust that the method, can work on the background, preparing the soil, a more fertile soil, a more receptive ground, so that then now, when we study, we are now developing wisdom. Then the wisdom can work together with the method, so that the methods become truly methods. And then the wisdom that increases become truly wisdom, and not just kind of intellectual information. 411 now. Bodhicitta can be forgotten, but it is not possible to lose it. Oh, very bold statement, You cannot lose it completely. You may forget it, but once you have generated bodhicitta vow, it will be there. 411 Khenpo Kunpal. Now, this is, again, what is the background to this? The background is, it's said, there are ways that you can lose your bodhicitta vows. But here, the commentary will explain, it's not that Jigten Sumgon says you absolutely cannot lose your bodhicitta vow. So let's look more closely. If one happens to commit any of the 4 unwholesome actions, and what are they? So these 4 unwholesome actions are related to bodhicitta vow, bodhisattva vow, which is deceiving gurus and others who are worthy of reverence, causing others, so this is upwards, vertically towards those, that we look to as teachers, we deceive them. Then causing others to regret something that should not be regretted. This is, you can say, on the horizontal plane, causing our fellow practitioners to regret virtues that they have engaged in. Using harsh words towards a bodhisattva. Now upwards again. Deceiving sentient beings, now horizontal again. Deceiving sentient beings here is deceiving specifically more in the sense of like pretending to have powers that you don't have. So if one happens to commit any of these 4 unwholesome actions, one's bodhicitta will be forgotten during all those lives until one remembers it again. But it is not possible to lose it because its seed will never be eliminated. It is said in the absorption that encapsulates all merit sutra, if a bodhisattva is associated with the four actions, he will forget his bodhicitta. Thus, Jigten Sumgon taught that it is important to be unstained by the four or more unwholesome actions. So here, Khenpo Kunpal's commentary emphasizes that Jigten Sumgon, in saying this statement, is also warning, you can forget it, even though it's there. So forgetting it is, quite serious. So don't forget, In other words, don't leave behind, bodhicitta by engaging in actions that will cause that to happen. But I think the bigger point Jigten Sumgon is also making, which in Khenpo Kunpal's commentary it's not emphasizing, is how, however, although you lose it, although you forget it, that is not how you lose it. So this is in response to people who say, yes, these four, in fact, in the longer commentary, this thicker one, it says, people claim that the resolve for awakening is lost through such things as the four black dharmas. Here, Jigten Sumgon says, except for their being the cause of forgetting these four black dharmas, it is impossible for the resolve for awakening to be lost through these four actions. So here, Jigten Sumgon is actually emphasizing the power of genuinely giving rise to bodhicitta. When that has happened, even though we will suffer setbacks if we don't guard this vow carefully, know that you don't lose it, even when these four black actions, dark actions have been taken. In the commentaries, they say, now it's not that absolutely you will not lose it. In fact, you will lose it if you, from the bottom of your heart, says, I reject this bodhisattva vow thing. It's false, it's misleading, it's bad. I reject this, or any form of this kind of strong wrong view. Then yes, of course, it's gone, because you chase it out, But if out of habitual distractions, you engage in actions that is said to damage your bodhicitta vow, be assured that you have not lost it. And the point here is that you have not lost it. Now, as long as you remember it, you can continue. And so this is very encouraging, I think. Even when we have done something, that kind of, then we regret, oh, why did I do that, And in that moment, you can know, actually, bodhicitta is still there. I temporarily, forgot and damaged it. But now I'm returning to it, then, we are back on track. So this is four 11. So today we're going to stop here.